And hot.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Authentic Hustle with the most authentic folks of all.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's start off the question with, how do you become authentic? Show me yourself. Say it with your chest.
Speak from your diaphragm. Holy cow. Well, let me just start this episode off by saying the first episode was flipping awesome. Good job, everyone. Somehow we managed to pull this mosh posh together and chat about the craziness that is the U.S. Canada situation at the moment. And Brian gave us, the Dallas view, and we had the Canadian view from the rest of us.
You guys.
But my gosh, I'm just going to, for our newer listeners, I know there's a lot of people. This is only episode 2. There's a lot of people who are finding this for the very first time. What the hell is Authentic Hustle? Authentic Hustle is for business owners, podcasters, just coming together, having a genuine, authentic conversation. Nothing is off the table. Here, we're going to talk politics. We're going to talk regional issues. We're going to talk business. We're going to talk life. We're going to talk it all. This is essentially a fun talk show where the 4 of us are each bringing a topic once a week, and we are going to chat about it. We're going to have a quick discourse, and we are going to hopefully educate and inspire a few of you guys along the way. And I hope you enjoy it. And let's just lead it off. Vijay, will you start us off this week?
Yeah, today I wanted to bring a topic of where there's world has always seen a lot of division and hate and all of this. Today I saw a beautiful tweet. I just posted it on LinkedIn. See that he's really popular in the crypto community. He said he has 9-10 million followers. He said the world is getting less divided. That's what he tweeted. And the best of all,
right, we were wrong. Okay.
The best of all, the first comment on that was someone said the world is healing. I love that tweet, and I think I've never seen it's always been the power struggle and the control centers always wanted to divide people for some reason. And when I saw the tweet that the world is getting less divided, oh man, that's a beautiful tweet. So that's what I wanted to bring it today.
Yeah, I see it. Maybe Canada and U.S. haven't gotten on the ship yet, but we're a little divided.
Well, I think it's important that when we look at it as a whole, what really is the world? Okay, what is it? It's a bunch of individuals, just like the people in this room, just like the people listening. What do we care about? We care about the success of our businesses. We care about our families living the life we want them to live, getting the opportunities we want them to have. We want to have abundance in as many areas of our life as we can. And as a world, we want this. Every single family, if you ask what they want, we want the same things. It makes zero sense. It really is the governments of the world who get in the way of that for each and every one of us. It's not about us. I think as humanity, as individual families and humans, we want the same things and we genuinely care about each other. And I think if we would allow people to do what we do best, which is ultimately look after each other, build each other up, without the interference of these large corporations and, government, we would do so much better. It's not individuals. We care about each other. We really do. I think the vast majority of people are good.
Colin's no.
I did think the vast majority of people were good. And I do feel people want peace. I just think right now it's a little fragmented and we're in pieces.
Well, it's broke before it's fixed, right?
And like Kelly said, the government is the government. But I think some true colors are really flying now in light of everything that's going on. And probably not a bad thing because it's going to expose a bunch of things that were kind of swept under the carpet for maybe decades.
Yeah.
But the part is living through it.
Yes. Man, I'm going to lead into mine today, guys, because mine is a little deep. I was talking with Colin earlier today, and I was like, you know what? I think today is going to be a spicy episode. I had a feeling about it. We've been focusing on Canada very specifically over the past couple of weeks with, the U.S. election, these incoming tariffs. And it's just been oh God, the U.S. is going to kill us. But my argument here is, my goodness, we've been doing it to ourselves for too bloody long. We're only in this weird position because as a country, we have not been able to unify. And we have not been able to unify. And I 100% blame the leadership of this country, not just liberals. They've done a crappy job, but conservatives have also done a crappy job of of what do you call it? Uniting this country, right? We are a massive.
Because you burn flags.
We're a massive country. Like, we genuinely are. Like, if you look at countries on Earth, we're the second biggest country on Earth.
I like the coldest.
And as like a national unity, we have really struggled with that. And it's been, I think, a modern problem, because I look back at my parents' generation and they really believed in a whole unified Canada. And, you know, like, I can't speak to what they were going through at that time, but I feel like as time has gone on, we have not had leadership that truly wanted to unify our country. And I want to give just a little bit of statistics to this. People talk about Western alienation, right? And like, I know people in the East are like, oh, Western Canada just needs to shut up. They need to shut up about it. Okay. And I get it. Like, from your standpoint, you probably feel that way. But let me just give you guys a little bit of statistics here. You guys are worried about Quebec leaving. Let's talk about what's going on in Canada. According to Elections Canada, the Parliament of Canada has 343 seats. So obviously, you need to win a majority of these seats in order to elect the next government, okay? BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan account for 108 of those seats. Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick, Ontario and Quebec alone account for 200 of those seats. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland are Atlantic provinces, only account for 32, and Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut only account for 3. So what does this mean? This means Eastern Canada, no matter what, dictates who wins the federal election of Canada. Even though the majority of Canada, literally the entire rest of Canada, could vote a completely different way, we would still lose.
How, that problem. Yeah.
How is that fair? How is that fair? Okay, and let's just go a little deeper into this too, because one of the things that Western Canada is pissed off about is the fact that we are unfairly paying equalization. And I mean genuinely unfairly. We are paying a vast majority of the equalization payments. Well, where are they going? Do we get any back? BC and Alberta and Saskatchewan, the provinces who probably pay at least, let's call it 3/4 of the equalization, we get $0 back from that equalization. Where is it going? Well, Manitoba, actually I can get behind. I love Manitoba. Manitoba gets $4.7 billion. Ontario gets $546 million. But hold on, we're about to go real deep here. And I have to ask some questions here. Quebec, okay, I love you guys. I don't want you to leave. But why are you getting $13.6 billion? Why? Why is that fair? Why are you getting $13.6 billion
Everyone else getting
when
They
the
speak
rest
French.
of Canada is barely getting 5? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Atlantic provinces get $7.37 billion. I actually understand that. Atlantic provinces, they just don't have the resources. You know, fisheries is their prime resource. Oil and gas for Newfoundland, just off the coast. But I get it. That one actually makes sense. But $13.6 billion of equalization goes to Quebec. You know, I'm actually going to give it to Ontario. $546 million. You guys aren't taking that much. Like, really, you're giving it all to Quebec too. Why is equalization not fair? And let's talk about this for a second. The two provinces who receive essentially the benefit of equalization, Quebec, why the hell would they vote any other way than who's going to give $13.6 billion? But the rest of the provinces, we don't have any say in this. We're like in an abusive relationship with our own country and we can't leave. We got a gun to our head and we're like, yeah, this isn't fair. And they're like, oh, too bad. Like, that's the situation we're in.
I got a gun.
Yeah, that is why Western Canada is so pissed off about this whole thing. That is why Western alienation is a thing. And I think Canada as a country, guys, as leadership, like, I hope that our leaders at some point listen to this show and just see that, like, we just want a fair deal. If we're paying, $26.2 billion total of equalization, this should be split equally. If we truly want to be on the same page and get a real fair deal, we should be splitting these dollars equally between the provinces. And I get it. Someone could argue that province has more people. Okay, fair. Then you should move. You should equally distribute people across this province, or across this country, sorry. Because the argument that I would make is no province is better than the others. That's the whole point of confederation, is that as a country, we are unified. How can we be a unified country if we are being abused? If an entire half of your country is being financially abused and robbed.
It's theft. I'll give you that.
No, I want to bring in Henry Kissinger just for context here. I mean, like he once said, like, if you want to control a nation, you can control them by food. If you want to control a continent, you can control them by the energy supply. If you want to control the world, you can control them by money, right? And I think that's what's happening here, even among the provinces and between provinces. And I think it's always a power struggle of money, actually. As long as money decides the GDP and all of that, decides a deciding factor of who's like powerful, who has a say in it. I think it's not going to change anything, because like it's always measured by the money, and the representation is always by, okay, how much backing do you have? Do you have 10 million or 20 million, right? So that keeps deciding the power centers of the world. So I think that it comes back to money again and again and again, where money is not the deciding factor of anything. Actually, if you look at it, people are, I mean, the way people interact are very different. I mean, they don't give. I mean, like when you talk to people, you talk to Elon or anyone, like no one talks about money at all. I mean, money is probably the last of the conversations, right? But I think the control centers always are somehow like fascinated about money, and I think that's where it is coming from. I think the starting place of all this is the problem, the intent. I think some of it is in the good place, but many of it is not. So I think that's what it reflects back in our society every day.
Colin, go ahead. What's your point on that?
Even when you think about the term equalization, I think what's going on a bigger scale, even globally, is I don't want to name names, but Brian's president. He's
I don't want to name names, but
you rather
rather name me. He must not be named, but I'll call him by Brian's name.
But if we look at what's happening, it's no different there. They're looking for equalization, right? He's calling it a deficit, and he's going out to the world saying, "Hey, there's a deficit between what goes that way and comes this way, import, export, right? Everybody's looking for an equalization, but nobody knows how to do it fairly, right? The whole purpose of NAFTA or any of these agreements that have been made over the last few decades were for equalization. Everybody wanted equality, right?
Yeah.
And let's tear down the borders by offering proper equality. And now all of a sudden one person, and we feel the same way, just like Kelly said, from the east to the west, right? It's not actually equal. I think that's what's going on from the U.S. to Canada, right? Or U.S. to China. It's all about equality and equalization. How do we actually do that? Well, and that's where, unfortunately, politics gets involved. It's not about the four people on these screens, right? Or the people listening, maybe. It goes deeper and uncontrollable, and it's just decades of it. And so I wish I had an answer or an insight into how do you make that better, is tear down the walls. That's what we've always said, is tear down the walls.
Tear down that wall, Gorbachev. Tear down that wall.
Well, you made a point earlier, Colin, we were talking this morning, and you said, why can't we rip up that deal? Why don't we just say no? Enough is enough. We have, probably one of the most powerful premiers in Alberta that I have ever seen. Danielle Smith is an earthquake and a hurricane put together. Like, she could just say tomorrow, absolutely not. We're done. We're done with this deal. This deal sucks. This deal doesn't benefit Alberta. It just robs us. It robs us of the wealth that we should be able to create. And it just distributes all of it to Eastern Canada. Like, there's nothing fair about that situation. And it's crazy. It's crazy that in this time, under these threats, like Canada, we're not at threat of being taken over by the United States. We are at threat of destroying our own country because we refuse to treat people fairly from coast to coast.
That's right.
Cover your ears.
Shut down the line 5. Line 5 and
No, it's silly. It's silly. And it's funny because all of the talk since this Trump trade war thing has been going on has been, hey, we need to get our resources to the other coast. It's like, guys, we've been saying that for 15 years. Like, this is not a new conversation. It's Quebec. It's literally the same province that takes $13 billion from equalization, who refuses to allow us to put a pipeline through their province so that we can get to another coast. Like, It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And I'm not just banging on Quebec, guys. I know there's a lot of people in Quebec who are great people. I'm not. I'm just using it as an example because under the current situation, you guys are the easy person to point at. You got $13 billion of the transfer payments. That's half, a full half of all transfer payments across Canada go to one province. So I'm not hating on you guys. I get it. This isn't you. This is probably your government or whatever else, but it's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah. I joined the United States when it was originally like fighting with that. What was the story behind that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Brian?
Why did you guys not join in on the United States of America back in the teen 1800s?
Well, because
curious little history.
Because we were at war, because you kept trying to take us.
Wow.
No, because we were, you guys separated, right? And we stayed part of the monarchy, right? We stayed part of the monarchy. So we were technically still under British rule until what, midway through the 20th century?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Poor guys.
We confederated in like, what was it, 1867? But we've been still part of the British monarchy. Like if England goes to war, Canada goes to war. Like that's where we're at even today.
Right. And that's the interesting thing, not to get too deep, but that's why we've seen comments in the last few weeks of why is the king not spoken? Right. As bizarre as that sounds, like are we not together? Obviously we're not. Right.
No.
It's almost like people, even in what we're going through right now, just in Canada, between the provinces and then the premiers, they still can't see how equality works, or, you know what, we can be diverse, but we can work together. And there's it's still this thing. We teach our children to
do unto others as you would have them undo unto you. Right.
And we don't do that. We wake up every day, like it gets sickening to watch the news. It's just about this person said this or that one, or it's almost like burn them at the stake, right? Like they're almost to that point.
Yeah.
And if they think that's going to help and get us to that cohesive nation, it's not. Right?
Yeah.
It's like we're getting further away than we are getting closer together. And then even if you look at Ontario, just with their premier there, right? He's certainly not representing Canada. I don't blame him. He's retaliating. One day he retaliates and says, we're just going to double our tariffs. We're going to do everything else. We're going to hit you back dollar for dollar. Then the next day he says, we're taking all your stuff off the shelves. And then the third day he's saying, hey, we all got to work together here. Okay. So
what is it?
It's Wednesday. Like, so what is tomorrow? Right. And on the other end, if you're the one holding the iron mallet, you're looking at all these people out there floundering and just going, okay, I'll just hang out here then and wait, and they'll destroy themselves.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what I see what's happening in our country, even just on our country alone. Right.
Well,
and then,
sorry, go ahead, Colin.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I want to give props to our premiers. All the premiers of Canada are in Washington right now, at this very moment, trying to talk with people, to talk with lawmakers, to make a case for Canada. But hold on. Why is this all of our premier's job? This is what's absolutely ridiculous about this situation. Where the hell is our real leadership? This goes back to our last conversation. If you resign, if you say, I am no longer going to do this job in any way, shape, or form, immediate election. Immediate election. 3 weeks later, we should have a new prime minister. This situation right now with Canada, where we're just waiting, we're just hanging out, waiting for some proper.
Wait till March.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This can never happen again.
Yeah.
This situation, I want lawmakers to look at it and say, this is never happening again. There needs to be a new rule. And the rule is, if you in any way, shape, or form resign from your job in politics, that day, if you are the prime minister of the country, that day, an election is called. That's it.
And here's the other thing. If you resign, no different than if somebody works for me, they don't decide who's going to be appointed to that position.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So then we wonder, why are we in this position? Why is there nothing getting dealt with? Going across literally into the United States and making threats or or how do they take anybody serious? Right. And the point I heard was, our step down leader says to the vice president, you know what this is going to do to your home state? Like, let's get real here. Like, let's talk about the entire country. But let's not throw little slanders out there. Let's not throw jabs out there. Like, how is it that the right people aren't sitting there? And like Kelly said, why are the premiers there trying to make a difference? They're talking to governors. That ain't going to make the decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're trying. They're working. They're doing the best they can with the shitty hand they've been dealt.
Yeah, true. Right. So that's the state of address, people.
State of the Republic, not even State of the Union. What are you guys? A country? State of the country?
Yes, we're a country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
It's like an island. It's like a place.
Yeah. We're a country acting like an island.
I want to make a small plea to our fellow provinces, okay? Specifically British Columbia and Ontario. You guys are awesome. I know so many people from British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Ontario. You don't want this. You don't want the current situation that we have in Canada. My poor people in Vancouver who just simply want their kids to grow up and have a good life and have an opportunity. By the time your kids are like old enough to buy a house, houses in your province, you're going to be $2 million.
True.
I know you didn't sign up for that. And I'm speaking to my people in Toronto too. Same problem. You didn't sign up for that. How are your kids supposed to make it? How are your kids supposed to make it when your average house price in 10 years from now is going to be like $2 million plus? They can't. Like, we are supporting a system that is driving Canadians into abject poverty.
I had that as a second topic that I was hoping to bring today, but you touched the topic, Kelly, already. I mean, like, I'm already seeing a large movement to people like fleeing to, they call it tax haven for whatever reason. But I mean, like, you look at the Middle East, Dubai and Qatar and so many other people are fleeing. I know so many from Edmonton who went. So many from Calgary who went to Dubai to do real estate and so many other things. All right. Why is that happening? Why is Dubai flourishing? Why are these tax havens actually flourishing? Because taxation is not well. I mean, I don't think it does any good to the human society or the citizens, everyday citizens, actually. I mean, I saw someone say like taxation is just a legal form of theft, and whereas inflation is indirect theft. Pretty much. That's what it is. And like, when everyone is worried about the cost of living, why is no one talking about inflation? And why is inflation happening in first place? Why is no one talking about that? I think that question needs to be asked. Like, why is it so expensive than the last 5 years? The cost of living has actually like tripled or like quadrupled in the last 4 years.
Ridiculous.
Right? Why is no one asking that question? I think that's a question that needs to be asked. Like, why has the value of money depreciated in the last 5 years?
Because they were printing it.
Colin, we need some positivity here.
All right.
Bumming me out.
We need some blue sky. I need my blue sky guy back.
Well, you know what? As blue sky as it can get. Kelly taught me this earlier, and I'm going to go with it, is Mickey Mouse can never have a bad day, right? And if you think
authentic, he's being himself.
He's being authentic, but you can't have a bad day. And really, nobody, I wrote it down. I'm like, okay, what are we going to talk about? And I said, nobody has a playbook for how life is going to be, right? Like one of the big hot topics, or everything is playbook, franchise playbook. Everything's a playbook, right? Everybody's on the internet writing a playbook of how can you be the best at this? Wake up at 5 a.m., drink 45 gallons of water, do all this before 8 a.m. And that will that will make you successful. Well, nobody has a playbook for how life's going to be. And so earlier I was thinking about it because, once again, just in my business world, a number of different reasons I could bury my head in the sand, but I won't, is how many times do we have to start over? Right? Thought about that this morning, and every day we have to start over.
Yep.
Regardless of what happened. You know, people have said to me, like, how many times have you started over? And I tell them, and they're like, wow, that's a lot of times. Like, did you ever think of quitting? No. Right?
For a second, and then it went away.
Why would I quit? Right? And to reiterate, we all start over every day. And we start by, not to be cliche, but really, what are we grateful for? Right?
Yeah.
I was telling Kelly, I'm grateful that we're not in a real war. We're in a financial war. Right? We're in a money war. That's what we're in. I have no fear, well, not today anyway, that tank's going to come rolling across the line, or a bomb or anything like that. That's not going to happen. So I'm grateful for that. It's just a hurdle that we have to get over. How are we going to deal with today? How are we going to deal with tomorrow? I was telling Kelly earlier too, and not to bring it down because it keeps me positive. Somebody I know took their own life in the last week, and this is authentic. I found out on Monday, and my dad always taught me that in that situation, obviously their fear of tomorrow is greater than their fear of today. Leave it at that. No questions. You can ask all the questions. You're not going to get the answers. So you can do the same with everything. Why are the tariffs happening? Are they really going to be as bad as he says they're going to be? I can't answer that question. But what I can do is figure out what I'm going to do today with my business, figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow with my business, and the same thing with my life. Figure out what I'm going to do this afternoon. No other way to say it, but did the shit hit the fan? It hits the fan every day.
Yeah.
Right? And you just continue.
You take it in the face and you just wipe it off and you're good.
Wipe it off. And I think the greatest outcomes are going to come out of the situation we're in right now on both sides of the board, right? They are if you keep the right mindset.
Well, I would argue that the more that we're willing to be authentic and honest, right? Like, I recognize that today what I talked about is very controversial. It's especially controversial for Canada, right? There's a lot of people on both sides of this fence, but we have to talk about it, people. We can't keep sticking our heads in the sand and being the polite Canadians who are afraid. Frankly, we are afraid. We are afraid to stand up and tell our truths and talk about the things that are directly affecting us. And I'm not alone in this. None of these other three people are alone in this. And none of you out there are alone in this. We are all facing the same challenges together. We are Canadians. We're Canadians and Americans. We're best friends. We really are. We're the best of friends.
Yeah. We're North Americans.
We're North Americans. We need to start working together and we need to start looking after each other instead of competing with each other. And we sure as hell shouldn't be competing at the level that Canadians compete with other Canadians, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. We're more alike than we are different. We need to do more about that. And one other thing, Colin, I have to give a shout out to Brad Warren because I can already see him screaming at his computer saying, "Hey, the Mickey Mouse thing is fine."
That's off the table.
Brad Warren of Our Invisible Empire, everyone. He's a great dude. And that is definitely his saying, but it's a good one, man. Like, Mickey Mouse can't have a bad day. And you know what? We talked about it in an interview. And think about that. And on a certain level, and we talked about this earlier, me and Colin, that like as a business owner, okay, on a certain level, we have to all show up in a good mood. Like it's like we're 1,000 miles an hour, like we're having the best day ever, because that is how we connect with people. You aren't going to sell shit if you keep showing up to work looking depressed. And I'm not talking to my mental health people. I get it. Mental health is important. But absolutely, like there is, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, if you continue to show up to your business meetings depressed and talking about the world is ending, you're not exactly inspiring people to work with you. And so whether you like it or not, you do got to show up with a brave face. And so much of business is showing up every day with a brave face. It doesn't mean that you're feeling brave inside. It doesn't mean that you're excited. Hell, you could be having your worst day ever. But you got to show up like you're willing to participate. You got to show up like today's a day you can win. Because whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Well, and you know what? Go ahead, VJ.
No, I just wanted to share some words of encouragement and optimism and joy that lifts people up. And then especially during times of COVID when everyone was masked up and everything, or in a home, there was a lot of loneliness, people are depressed and everything. The only place we were allowed to go was a grocery store and a few other places. And I was in Ontario at the time and I went to a grocery store. I saw a little toddler. I think the kids were not masking up at the time. The only faces that we could see were the faces of the kids. Yeah. And I saw a 2-year-old with all the spark in her eyes, and then she was smiling and at the checkout counter. And it was fascinating to even look at people and smiling. I think something that we could learn from anyone, right? We don't have to read 500-page books to just learn. I think the moment, I think at that moment, what I learned is I think that that the spirit that kids have, I don't think they live in the past or they live in the future. Mm-hmm. The kids live in the moment. Actually, they live in the now. Actually, I wish still believe ignorance is definitely bliss. I wish I knew nothing. I wish we didn't know anything. I wish there was no social media. Yeah. I wish there was no information out there. But having what we have known and gathered each day, but we have to also let go. And also learn from these little toddlers and kids to also live in the moment so that we can enjoy every day and then nurture life even better. I mean, just wanted to bring that back.
Well, and you know what, I heard of something. It's not cute, but it's funny, I guess, in my brain. There was a guy standing on a bridge, and it looked like he was going to jump. Another guy came to save him, and he runs over, and he starts talking to me. He's like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And the guy starts telling him all his problems, and after 5 minutes, they both jump. Right?
Like, dude, you convinced me. Let's go,
man. Like, what? I thought you were going to uplift us.
That can happen to us every day, though, right?
Yeah.
That's the mindset that you get stuck in it. You go down that rabbit hole, and you just keep going. Guess what? You both jump down.
Yeah.
Right. And I just, for myself, every day, I'm very cognizant of, I can't let that happen.
Yeah.
And I find myself turning the news on and then turning it off because the news is very present, very immediate right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's worse than, the old days of going to work and going home, turn the news on, as a cat in a tree or on a pole, and they take it down. And then there's some bad news. It's all bad news right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is it, right? It's perspective.
It's all going to jump. 1, 2, 3.
Brian's going to use that one from now on.
I am.
I think it's important to remember that, like, no matter what is happening, you have to be able to go forward. Like, right? Like, the world isn't going to end. You can't just tomorrow decide, you know what, enough's enough. Well, I guess you can, but you don't have to decide that enough is enough. Like, most of us have to get up and continue to try, because you know what? We have families who depend on us. We have businesses who depend on us. We have employees who depend on us, right? Like, we can't get up tomorrow and just be like, I quit. Because first off, that's no way to live. That's not brave. That's not ambitious. That's not going to get us to that next place or out the other side. We have to believe. We have to believe there's something better coming. And if you take nothing else from this particular episode, believe in something better. Believe in a better time, and you will create it. But you have to, even in the worst times, you have to keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on a better time, on a better opportunity, because there's something magical that happens when you believe in hope.
And you know what I wrote down? The number one person you have to depend on is you, right? Everybody else is depending on you, right? As long as you know you're depending on you to get it done, that's the moment. Brian, that's the I did moment.
That's the I did moment?
Yeah.
You get an award for that.
I could see it in Brian's eyes. They were like this.
I'm staring at my dog in the background going, you're ruining the shot.
That's all good.
I thought that was
We love dogs. Yeah. We love dogs on this channel.
There's my dog right there.
That Mango.
Yeah, that's Mango.
No, not a big fan of mangoes.
Yeah, that's your
fruit. I love mangoes. That's the best fruit.
Hey, Brian, what's your gig? What's
my gig?
Well, what's
up with me? Well, I'm going to ask another follow-up question on a suit-related topic. I don't know. I'm just being authentic. I'm just an American here. I have nothing to say. No, it sucks what you guys are going through. That really does. But the best thing to do is do something today that your future self will thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're our American side to this. Like, we've been talking so much Canadian crap. Talk about something American. Give us something from the good old US of A.
Gulf of America now. Better represent. That was such a good move because they had actually said that there's no more drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. So Trump's like, yeah, we'll just rename it. We can't. It's fine. It's a different name. It's a totally different place now. Love the guy. I do. Much as he's making a pain in the ass for everyone else, it has been a pain in the ass for Americans for several years, since 2020.
Tell us about it.
We don't see that side. We've been fighting. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I can't even bring up news in front of people. Like, I got to walk around eggshells. And now it's like, I can see the healing is happening because people are like, yeah, that sucked for everyone. Mm-hmm. Wrong choice. Let's do something different. Because Trump didn't only win the election in the presidency. He won all the swing states, all the toss-up states. Like, it was a definitive decision that the electorate made on November 5th. And he's going through with what he's going through. And I hope it's the best thing for our society as a world as a whole. I don't want to go to war with anybody. I'm not an American. Bloodbath. No. I want everyone to have what they need and get what they and have the ability to chase what they want.
Yeah.
Can you call him then and let him know what we're going
I'm
through?
going to put in a call for you.
Yeah.
Lay off the gas.
Yeah.
Focus on somewhere else.
Well, it simply comes down to what I talked about in the very beginning of all this. At the end of the day, the citizens of the world, North America, what do we care about? We care about our family. We care about the roof over our head. We care about being able to heat our houses in this frigid wasteland we call Canada.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we just care about being okay and living our best lives. That is genuinely what I think everybody in North America wants. Whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the United States, whether you're in Mexico, whatever, we just want the best possible lives we can have. And that's what we care about at the end of the day. And I think
we don't want to pay for someone else's life.
That's right. Right. Like, and don't get me wrong. Actually, as a Canadian, I feel like on a certain level, I don't want people to be poor. I don't want, but what we live in a country where nobody would have to be if we would just work together. If we would just work together, nobody would have to be poor here. That's the problem. The way it's set up right now is making everybody poor. It's the problem
it's shipping the money out. It's shipping the money out.
Yeah.
And it's not even in your economy. It's in a different boat now. Totally different boat.
Well,
that's not fair.
A whole nother conversation.
Why the hell are we giving away so much
money when our people are suffering? That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
like definitely.
Anyway, it's easier to steal money from a country that has great politicians than it is to steal a country that has great politicians.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw the entire RNC convention just prior to the election. I mean, this man took a bullet in his almost in his head, like in the ears. And I think a day later or 2 days later, he was at the RNC convention, sitting there all day for like 4 days or 5 days straight, and listening to all the speeches and encouraging people and whatnot. And I think he has gone through a lot. He doesn't need this, actually. He doesn't need this. He doesn't take a salary to be a president. He could be sitting in some beach somewhere or in his like Trump hotel somewhere and playing golf that he always loved to play. No, I think his mission is larger. I love what like Tucker Carlson spoke about in his last speech just before, I think, inauguration or something, like probably 2 months ago. He said, like, daddy's home. For a long time, daddy's not been at home. Daddy's home now. And people, you've been a bad girl. Like, you've been a bad girl and you're going to get some spanking now. So daddy's home now. So I think he's doing the spanking now, which is a little painful, but it's going to be okay, is what I think.
Yeah. That's funny.
We talked about it in the beginning. Yeah. I genuinely think, the conversation started out that healing is happening. And I think it needed to happen on both sides, right? United States needed their healing. Canada needs our wake-up call and our healing too, right? And I think more people willing to talk about it, more people willing to have this conversation and say, you know what? I don't know if this is fair. I don't know if this is working for us. We need a better deal. Across this country, we need a better deal. I just hope at the end of the day, right? Like the system that we have today, whether you elect liberals or conservatives, I don't care what side of the fence you're on. The reality is, like I said, what do we care about? We care about our businesses, our families, roof over our head, and heat for our homes. Okay, like that's the important things that all Canadians can agree that we care about. So we're more alike than we are different. What we need is leadership willing to look after those things for us, willing to say, okay, we get it. We get what you care about, and we're going to prioritize that.
Government should do certain things, and government should not do other things.
Yeah.
The society as a whole should determine what government does and does not do. So for the government, for the people, by the people, of the people, I truly believe. I hope you guys join us on this crazy adventure, but I totally respect if you guys want to be Canada, be that maple tree, that's fine.
We like being Canada. We do. We just need to get our ship in order too.
What is Canada?
What is Canada? We're your big brother. We're up high.
We're big brother. We're up high. We're big brother. We're gonna sneak out and beat you up after mom goes to bed.
All right. Well, I think that is where we end today's show, guys. It's been a pleasure. I promise next week is going to be more uplifting and motivating. We'll do our best with it. This is episode 2 of The Authentic Hustle. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.